Hello, hello, whiskey friends, far and wide. It's Tasty Tuesday, and that only means one thing. We are live. What's going on, y'all? I'm Eric, your humble malt user, beaming the whiskey tube signal from the Windy City, my current hometown, Chicago, Illinois, USA. I got a nice, fun, jam-packed show for y'all tonight. So we're going to be getting into it swiftly. But first, like, comment, subscribe. If you've not done any of those three yet, smash that thumbs up. Say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're sending your signal from. I do like to give folks shout-outs when I learn where you're from. And, of course, the old subscription, which does a lot to help support the channel and make sure you don't miss any reviews, you don't miss any live streams, you don't miss anything. So do those three, and let me say hello to the ready to get into it on a Tasty Tuesday. We got 9 folks in already. What's up, y'all? First in the door tonight is our boy in Montreal, Quebec. It's Paul. What up, Paul M? Good to see you. Happy Tasty Tuesday at you, sir. Right behind him, Duluth, Minnesota. Pete Week, you got it, man. I will grab my Lefroy quarter cask for the show. Saying hi to Paul. Rad, man. Thank you, Mr. French. Always good to see you. Gerbick's in the house. Mr. Gerbick from Jupiter, FLA, Florida. How are things in balmy Florida this early April? Shooting his signal from the Sun Valley. Somewhere out in the Phoenix area of Arizona, it's our good friend Leo. Pete Knight, hell yeah. You bet, man. Cheers, buddy. Good to see you. East Texas is in the house. It's Daniel H. What up, man? Good to see you, sir. Good folks already piling on in the old chat. Daniel's going to crack himself a Penelope Architect series. Oh, right. And then move over to the Pete. Good call. Yeah, I haven't started with the Pete either. I'm sipping an Arran 10 right now. Quite a tasty dram. Yeah, I'll be curious. Let us know how that Penelope is. I am starting to see those more and more here around Chicago, although I don't know if I've seen that Architect series before. Very cool. I was just reading the description. It looks like we have a big show. Yeah, man, we do. We got some stuff going on tonight. It should be fun. San Francisco Bay Area. It's our boy Gary. What's up, man? You hear that since last time I saw you open another 6 bottles. Call up peer pressure. There you go. Good to see you, Gary. Always great to have you in the house. Hazelburn, Longrow, Ben Romick, Lachag. He's got some nice drams. Good to see you, man. Great to have you here. Always good to have Gary in the house. And Daniel, hey, man, cheers. $10 super chat from Daniel. Appreciate you, man. Love it. Thank you for kicking off some generous support. Coming in from Los Angeles, the city of angels. It's our boy Cohen. Greetings, Muser and the Malt Mongrels, man. Back at you. How are things out in Los Angeles? Great to see you, man. Always good to have Cohen here with us, keeping the chat lively. All right, y'all. So let me set things up tonight. It is Pete Week. Why? I don't know. I just decided it was. So we're going to do some freaking peated whiskeys tonight. And all week for that matter. If you are a Patreon supporter, you've already got Friday's whiskey review in your inbox. Adelphi Selection Independent Bottling Kalila 12 Sherry Cask. Cask strength. That is in your inbox now. For everybody else, you can join on Patreon if you'd like. And there's another good reason to. I'm really excited to announce the first Patreon exclusive review that I'm going to do. So periodically, I'm going to start doing some more reviews strictly for the folks who are offering their generous support on Patreon. Some more exclusive, maybe a little bit more high-end, rarer bottles. And I can tell you that shortly, probably the next couple of days, the review for our first Patreon-only exclusive will be dun, 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 a nice peated bottle. This is Lagavulin Jazz Festival Limited Bottling, Natural Cask Strength, bottled in 2018. So Patreons, you will be getting a link to an exclusive review of this coming up soon. So this will be our first exclusive, and I'll keep you posted on other ones as they come along. As for tonight's show, We got two peated drams that we're going to check out tonight. The first one is going to be our featured bottle, and that is Arran Machrie Moor single malt Scotch peated Lachranza malt cask strength. So we have the newest cask strength release of their heavily peated line over at the much hyped, much talked about Arran Distillery. We'll be checking that out. And right after that, thanks to a generous sample from a good friend of our show, Greg, down in North Carolina, we will be checking out the latest committee release bottling from Ardbeg, the Ardbeg Fermutation, 49.4% ABV, 13-year-old. So peated whiskeys abound. Excited to get into this. Let me just see who else has jumped on into the chat. We got 12 folks in now, which is rad. Fermutation is only overpriced by 100. Yeah, I have not had it yet, so I'm excited to check it out. Thanks for dropping that link in, Daniel. Appreciate you. Cohen, 88 degrees in LA. Nice, man. Hey, and there's Donner Pass sending his signal. Northern California. Our good friend. How are you, sir? It is very nice to see you, man. And there's the man of the hour, Greg. Thank you very much, Greg, for the generous sample, which we'll be checking out in the second half of the show. And Alberta, Canada's in the house. It's our boy, Ben Demon Hunter. What's up, Ben? Solange. Good to see you. Okay, y'all. Excited to get after this. Let's do it. So, let's start with our featured bottle tonight, which will be an uncorking for that matter. This is the Arran Machrie Moor Cask Strength. This is bottled at 56.2%. It is non-chill filtered and natural colored. How do I know? Because they put it right here. Okay. They put it right there. Here in the United States, this whiskey will run you around $90 to $100, depending where you're at. Overseas, a bit cheaper, maybe in the $70 range USD. So, you know, it has not made its way around the States, I think, too much quite yet. I have not seen it very many places. But Arran also does a 46% version of the Machrie Moor. And it is a heavily peated. It is just not cask strength. And if you go way back into my vault of reviews, you will see I did a review of one of those batches, I think batch 3 or 4 many moons ago, and I was not all that impressed, mostly because I found it to be kind of simple and boring. But batches are batches. That would be one that if I think I could revisit it now, I would. All right. Now that we've got this somewhat off, they do, whatever. Let's uncork this bad boy. This is the bottle, by the way. And you can see this is the latest release. This is their new packaging. So it is not coming in those old, taller bottles they used to use. Arran, of course, comes from the island of Arran. So this is not exactly a... This is not a Isla whiskey. This is a heavily peated islands whiskey. And if you look at that live stream we did a few weeks back where we talked about whether or not islands are a thing, well, I'll leave that up to y'all. So I'm going to let that get a little bit of oxygen in it. Let me tell you a bit more about this. So here's what they have to say. On the west coast of the Isle of Arran lies a wind-swept and mystical peat bog called Machrie Moor. Bronze Age stone circles and standing stones are strewn across its barren, undulating terrain. One of those stone circles is known as Fingal's Cauldron Seat, where sits a stone with a carved black hole. The legendary warrior giant Fingal is said to have tethered his favorite dog brand to the stone. This peated expression of the Arran single malt perfectly captures the rugged beauty and lore of the landscape. Unleash the legend that is Machrie Moor. That explains why there's a dog on here. Again, cask strength, non-chill filtered, natural color, 56.2% ABV. There is no age statement, so this is an NAS malt. Let me know in the chat. Have any of y'all had the heavily peated Arrans in the past? Have you had any of the newer ones? Would love to hear your feedback, your interest in and experience with peated Arrans. This should be an interesting one. Let me just say hi to a few more folks here in the chat. LA trying to be like Phoenix today. Yeah. Daniel H says, never tried a Machrie Moor, just the sweet peat and no smoke. Sweet peat and no smoke. Arran sweet. I'm not sure. K&L got more Benromic cask strength back today for 30. Geez, yeah, buy that without hesitation. That's a damn good one. Downer Pass this is a very unique peat thing for me. Don't think I've had anything similar. All right. Very curious has been Demon Hunter about the Machrie Moor cask strength even more so. Yeah, you and me both, man. I have not had this at all. So I'm excited to get into it, which we're going to do right now. So since we don't know how old it is, I imagine this has to be in that, I don't know, 7 to 9-year-old, 10-year-old range. It's really hard to say. My guess is that they have mixed a bunch of younger whiskey in here with maybe some older stuff, probably to give it a nice punchy nature. We will see. That is the color, and it's a natural one, my guess. This is a strictly bourbon cask whiskey. We'll find out on the nose, maybe. I can't quite tell always, but here we go. Wow. So immediately, what I can tell you about this is it is sweet. It's vanilla. It's malt forward, sweet barley malt, honeyed, maybe a little bit bready, a little bit on the lemon meringue. There's peat in the background, low smoke, which is what I recall from the first Machrie Moor that I had. Not smoky peated whiskey, and there is a major difference. One of the ways you can tell is really not just from the nose, but when you taste it. That effervescence, drying kind of intensity you get on the nose. It's kind of tingly, kind of bubbly, like effervescent, basically. So one way you can tell that there's peat, and it does have that kind of signature earthy flavor to it. The smokiness you get more in the form of ash, or on the nose, it just smells like a bonfire. That is not what's going on here. This is a rather sweet, relaxed nose. If I was going to compare it to something, this reminds me of a lightly peated Bruichladdich. Sweet, almost like corn. That peat is in there though, and it's intense, it's dense. So we got a lot of sweet vanilla bourbon cask American oak characteristics going on here for the most part. So far, relatively simple nose. Fresh. Again, reminds me a bit of a Bruichladdich if I was going to compare it to anything. Okay. So this is sat here for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes. You know what? Buttered cornbread. I know how that sounds, but that's what it's like. Maybe a little bit of a brine, funky brine to it. Okay, here we go. Happy Tasty Tuesday, y'all. Cilantro. Oh, wow. Peat for sure. And a lot of it. Wow, that really punches. Go back in for a second neat taste here before we start chatting about this whiskey. Here we go. Oh, wow, that is intense. Okay. So let's start with the cask maturation. It does not tell us. My guess before we drank it was American oak or ex-bourbon cask. I definitely think that's the bigger player here. On the palate, though, it's making me think there might be a little sherry. It's tough to say. but neat. It's definitely got a bit of a stewed fruit, kind of a peach, almost like fruit cup nature to it. The development on this, it is a rich and intense whiskey. I shouldn't say rich. It's a medium viscosity. It's more of a medium viscosity, punchy, low smoke. It is not very smoky. It is just very intense on the peat. So you have a bit of a combination of this earthy, almost savory quality with a lot of these sweet notes, sweet barley, that kind of bready, buttered cornbread thing, vanilla, caramel, maybe even hints of light brown sugar. It's a slightly floral even, and a little salty. And then you just get walloped with this intense peat. The thing that is impressing me about this, it is, first of all, a very nice long finish. Little minty, a little bit on the fresher side, maybe a slight hint of alcohol, but not much. And that's what I think is really impressing me about this whiskey so far. Non-age statement cask strength, always to me, I think it's going to be overpowering with an alcohol, like unmistakable alcohol edge. They've done a lot to mute that here. It's not incredibly complex, at least not with water, but we're gonna add a couple drops in a second here. You know what? I got to do one more neat sip here. Wow, that is really fresh. Man, there's almost like a like a stewed fruit note, like a little raisiny almost. Maybe not stewed, more like a raisin, chocolate covered raisin, raisinets. For those of you who know what those are. This is a youthful, well aged in good casks, intense whiskey. White chocolate a little bit. Really, you're getting a lot of bourbon cask here. If there's any sherry in this, it's pretty minimized. A lot of bourbon cask, a lot of peat. This is a very no compromise whiskey. I don't mind it, not one bit. I'm not sure quite where it fits in my thoughts about, or my interest in peated whiskey. Similar to the Machrie Moor that I had in the past, it's just kind of there, right? It's got some character. The lack of a smokiness does make it just taste like you're tasting a really oak-driven bourbon cask whiskey, but well more rounded. So that's a really interesting note. Let's try some water on this. Again, this is 56.2%. I'm going to do 4 or 5 drops on here. I really want to see what else we can coax out of this bottle. One more time for if you haven't seen, this is the bottle. It is a nice presentation. And even though they don't have an age statement on it, Arran, in their credit, they are very, very transparent about the non-chill filtration and natural color nature of this. So that's really nice. Okay. So here we go. This is the way I'm jamming on this one right now. What I pick up here with water, it has not changed the nose too much, but it's just toning it down more than lifting it up in any direction. Still tastes fresh, smells fresh, and youthful, barley forward. I enjoy it. I think water's done better here. You can get a little lime even. Okay, let's give it a taste. Boy, that thing still kicks. Oh, the water is good. I'm starting to get some dark berry notes popping through in this. So a little bit more of a dark fruit. I was kind of talking about stewed fruit before when I was drinking neat. Starting to get a little bit more of that here. But boy, it is youthful. It's still pretty damn youthful. Ooh, it's a tough one. Maybe like peach, just a little bit of tropical fruit. Slightly leathery, maybe. Lot of punch. That white chocolate's coming through even more with the water. Yeah, the water has really brought out some berries, man, which I think has made this a little bit more dynamic. All in all, this is a really rounded whiskey. It's punchy, minimal heat despite the high ABV and the non-age statement. So the youth of this, it's like they've done a good job with the casks here. My guess is that this is probably all American oak and maybe a small amount of sherry cask, if at all. So price on this one. Okay, so first, let me just say a couple things. First of all, for Islay whiskey, smoky whiskey drinkers, people who really like that Islay peated punch, this one is going to throw you for a little bit of a loop. You're just not getting that bonfire smoky nature. You're not getting that like you would get out of like a Kalila or you kill home, and you're not getting the medicinal note that you would get out of like a Lefroy. You're not getting the kind of earthy, sooty quality, road tar quality you get out of an Ardbeg. This is really something in and of its own, and the lack of a smokiness, for me personally, does make this kind of a strange whiskey for so much peat. I've had whiskeys that are heavily peated but are not smoky, but this not at this level of intensity. At around that $75 mark, let's say, give or take, here in the US, I mean, this is something that it does a good enough job of still kind of displaying some of the characteristic things I'm starting to learn about Arran, which I noticed in the 10, I've noticed in some of their other whiskeys. But I don't know if it's a rush out and buy unless you're really you're a real peat head and want something different without a lot of smoke. You really want something that's not an Islay. Personally, for me, if I had that money, there are a couple other whiskeys out there that I would probably go for. I'm thinking specifically of like the Lefroy 10 cask strength, for example. But this is no slouch, and I think this is going to be interesting to see where it goes. It's like if you took the smoke out of a Port Charlotte, it's kind of like in this. I'm going to sit with I'm going to give this a reasonable, respectable prelim score for just opening this, and I will, of course, do a full review later. I think it's slightly above average. Yeah, it's got some upside. 3.25. I don't want to go too high on it because I'm really not sure where it's going to go, but I think it has some promise. Again, it would be nice to see an age statement on this. And fortunately, I have started to see that they have some 10-year-old age-stated Arran Machrie Moors. I don't know if they've done a cask strength version, but I will keep an eye out for that. So I'll sit at 3.25. It's not exciting me to tell you to run out and buy it, or that I would necessarily want to run out and grab another bottle. But there's some interesting stuff going on here, and it's a quality whiskey. So if you're on the 100-point scale, this is like an 86, 87-ish, something like that. Or no, wait, I'm sorry. Is that right? No, this is like a 83, 84 with some upside, and the price ain't bad. All right. Wow. I could see this going up. The water really made a difference. Neat. This was maybe just in that kind of, ooh. I'm starting to, now I'm going to kick this up to a 3.5. The water really does bring out more dynamism in this whiskey. And I think 3.5. So this is more in like an 84 for me instead of like an 83, in the 84 range. So 3.5 out of 5. Above average, solid stuff, good price, great distillery, great presentation, sans the lack of an age statement. So I'm going to catch up on the chat, but I do want to just give folks a reminder. So if you are on Patreon, as I announced in the beginning of the show, I want to share once again this is going to be the first Patreon exclusive review that I'm going to do. I'm going to start doing these periodically as just another way to say thank you to folks. And I'm going to be focusing more on some like rarer, more exclusive bottles, things that are a little bit harder to find, things that are, you know, a little bit more limited. And sharing these reviews with just folks who are on Patreon. So the first one should probably be up in the next week or so. Look in your inbox. It is going to be this, the Lagavulin Jazz Fest 2018 cast strength bottling. This was released exclusively for the Jazz Festival on Isla by Lagavulin. We're going to check this out, and I believe, you know, I will give it a full-on review, which I have not done yet. So that will be the Patreon exclusive. And again, I appreciate everybody who is supporting on Patreon so far. We're going to keep Pete Week going, though, here on the channel, y'all. Arran Machrie Moor, which we've just finished up here, is going to give way to our next review. This is a double review. Well, every week is a double review, really. But this one is going to get a lot more focus. And first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Greg from North Carolina, who provided me with a sample of the elusive and, well, let's just be honest, controversial, as they all are, committee release from Ardbeg. I'm going to get this in the glass. I'm going to let it get some oxygen, and then we'll talk all about it. But first, as I do this, let me catch up on the chat and see how everybody is doing, man. The chat is just as important as the whiskey. I do not like to miss too much of what folks are talking about. So I'm going to let that, that get some oxygen. All right, let me get back to where I was. Okay, Donner Pass is talking about this. He much prefers it with some water. Well, you were damn right about that. The water really changed that. I think Aaron uses Isla Peat. That would make sense. Although, like, I wonder how they avoid the smoky nature of it. Is it just that they're buying peated barley and then they're not, you know, putting it in a kiln, or they're not drying it themselves, so it doesn't have as much of the smoke retained in the actual barley? I'm actually kind of curious about that. I don't know if anybody knows the answer, but if you do, let me know. Peter White's in the house in Ontario. What up, Pete? How are you, man? So you engaged at GD15. Okay, he's chatting with Ben Demon Hunter. Donner Pass. Got one of those Tom Until 14s for $40 last month. Only bottle in the core range that's not 46% no-chip filter. Interesting. Oh, man. Miss Penelope's best release yet as far as the river. Oh, okay, so that's that Architect one you're having? That's awesome, man. Hey, Texas is in the house. Juniper Lane. What's up, Juniper? Great to see you again on a Tuesday. How are you? Awesome to have you in the chat. Gary's joined a Hazelburn and a couple of long rows along with my Springbank local barley lately. Ooh. Which local barley are you sipping on? And Juniper with the $50 super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate your generosity. Right on. That definitely put some pep in my step for tonight's show, too. So thank you so much, Juniper. You are too generous. Thanks for sending in that super chat. And again, I want to give a shout out to Daniel, who sent a super chat earlier as well, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Donner Pass dropping in, pouring some Ben Romick cast strength. Hell yeah. Where is the Highland Park cast strength 2? It's cheap at less than $80 and so worth it. How is fermentation worth $200? It says Ardbeg on the label. I don't know. We're going to find out about the fermentation. I've never had it, and I don't have a bottle of it. I've seen the Highland Park cast strength 2. I didn't love the first one. So, man, I just am so hit and miss with Highland Park, but thank you for the suggestion. I will keep an eye out for it. If I find it a good price, I'll grab it. I mean, I do like Highland Park at the end of the day. Let's not lie. Let's not kid ourselves, right? And there's the second half of the LA Fearsome Twosome. It's our good boy, James Chang. What's up, man? Whiskey Rats. I love it. How you doing, buddy? Great to see you, James. And thank you for those great videos on Instagram, man. You got a kick out of those today. At Mom User, vanilla, sweet oak, fruit, white chocolate, creamy botanical, some leather. Good heat to it. Are you referring to your Penelope? Good to know. That sounds pretty good. Blueberry smoothie for me. If you were talking about the Arran, I'm kind of right with you on that. Right on, y'all. Jersey's in the house. It's our friend Andrew Page pouring some Arran Machrie that I picked up recently. Oh, right, man. Keep us posted on that. I have a bottle. I think I'm going to be doing that one next week here on the show, perhaps, or at least in 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to tasting that one. Great to see you, Andrew. Hope all is well your way. James Morgan sending his signal from London. What's up, buddy? We got 19 folks in. It's great to see everybody, man. Donner Pass, Annock 24 is so good. Got a couple put away in the last years. Oh, yeah. That was my whiskey of the year in 2020. Or was it 19? I think it was 20. Yeah. Annock 24, man. Fantastic stuff. Thread Press 28. Oh, that reminded me. So last week on the show, I did mention that I picked up, and again, thanks to support from all of y'all who have chipped into in some way. I did get my most expensive bottle today, and it is right back there on the shelf. Redbreast, 27 years old. I cannot wait to open that. So it came a day late, so I dropped it on Instagram on Friday instead of Thursday, as I told you I would. But yeah. I am beyond hyped for that because I feel like Redbreast can basically do no wrong. Okay, you were talking about the architect. Okay, awesome. All right, y'all. Let's get into this. So, again, I want to give a big shout out to our friend Greg McDonald, who is beaming his signal from North Carolina, United States, who sent me some samples that arrived in the last couple of days. And one of those is a sample of a committee release that was just dropped by Ardbeg. I'd say maybe a month and a half ago, called the Ardbeg Fermutation. Now, I do not have the bottle to show you, but the bottle art is pretty great. It shows a bunch of like mash tuns that are in the kind of acting like flying saucer aliens. Again, the guys, the people who do the artwork and the creative design for some of these bottles is the same person who does them from Glenmorangie, Dr. Bill. So I personally quite enjoyed looking at it. It's going to be, it's pretty cool looking. So let me tell you guys the story behind this. So first of all, it comes in with an age statement, which is pretty rad. Here's what it says. Ardbeg presents a new 13-year-old single malt born out of necessity, as the current press release explains. This is the fermutation. When whiskey production came to a standstill in November 2007 due to a boiler breakdown, the wort had to stay in washbacks much longer than usual. And if you have to experiment, then do it right, said Dr. Bill, blah, blah, blah. The fermutation lasted not only 3 weeks instead of the usual 7. It lasted 3 weeks instead of the usual 72 hours of fermentation. And in addition to the yeast, wild bacteria from the air could now also do their work. So 13 years in ex-bourbon casks. So this is like a real funky bottling, basically, is what we're looking at here. This is a bottling where it fermented way longer than normal for Ardbeg. And, this bacteria was in there doing its thing. It's bottled at 49.4% ABV. It's non-chill filtered and natural color because that's how Ardbeg rolls. I have not seen these bottles around here. It was released at a pretty stiff price of 180 pounds over in the UK. So, yeah. So we got another funky Ardbeg release. I will give them props where props is due. That they put there's a 13-year-old age statement on this one. That is not normally the case with any of these special committee release bottlings. So that is the tail of the tape here on the Ardbeg Fermutation. We're going to get into this in just a sec. Let me just quick double check and see. We got 21 folks in the chat, which is great. Folks saying hi to James Chang. Malt Redbreast 27 deserves a live Patreon opening. Just saying. Yeah, we'll see. Hope you like that Redbreast 27 better than me. I'm sure you will. Well, we will see, Mr. Connor. Great to see you. I had batch 1, 2, not batch 2. Gotcha. 27-year Ruby Port Sherry should be tasty. I agree. It is batch number 2. That's the one that I was able to get. It's 53.5% ABV. Ooh-wee. I'm looking forward to it. The French oak in that Penelope. Okay, great. And there's Greg. Should be out, Daniel. There are times my wife and I wished I did not have so many bottles. I am halfway through my Redbreast 27. It's good in my humble opinion, though not worth 500. Yeah, that's probably true. I have a sense. Look, I mean, I think, to be completely frank about the Redbreast, to digress for a second, the 21 is fantastic. But the Redbreast 12 cask strength, I still feel like at the end of the day, value for money, quality, it's probably the best. So we'll see how this 27 stacks up. This has been a unicorn bottle for me. I just goddamn love Redbreast. So I think, other than maybe their small batch release that they put on the US, which I thought was a little bit weaker than it needed to be, I've loved everything they've done, and I've had most of the bottles sans Dream Cask stuff. So this is going to be a really exciting one. Stay tuned. Okay, y'all, here we go. 49% ABV, ex-bourbon cask, 13-year-old age statement, non-chill filtered, natural color, and it's the fermentation of the wash and the wort went for 3 weeks instead of 72 hours by accident. And yeah, so this is going to be an interesting one. I do not know quite what to expect. That's the color. Again, shout out Greg in North Carolina. Thank you for this sample on the nose, Ardbeg Fermutation. Let's dive in. Whoa. Okay. Immediately, this is the most unique nose I think I've ever had in an Ardbeg. Incredibly herbal. So really, I'm going to look for the things that are different than I would normally get on an Ardbeg first, and then we'll talk about some of the other stuff. Man, bitter herb, fresh cut Italian parsley, maybe some type of like fresh cut wood, or like I don't know. What is that? Tons of mint, menthol. Gasoline. It almost has a bit of like a gasoline, kerosene, like those lamps, you know. Jesus, boy, this is weird. Very herbal forward. Again, like, I'm trying to figure out what this wood note is. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe like cedar chips. But man, I'm telling you, parsley, like, okay. So a lot of herbal forward. As for the regular kind of the other, my God, hang on a second. Y'all are gonna have to roll with me on this. This is really funky. Fresh cut grass. I mean, wet, fresh cut grass that you are dumping out of the bag from your lawnmower. There's hints of grape skin, grapeseed oil, maybe vanilla. Yes, oil, like that kind of road tar char note that you get from Ardbeg. There is a bit of sweet kind of yeastiness to it. Really, really funky. Wow, that is weird. Again, you know, the classic bourbon cask Ardbeg stuff is here, but the herbalness of this is just striking. And again, gasoline. A sharp contrast from the cask strength Machrie Moor we were just drinking. Yeah, vanilla. so on and so forth. Okay, let's give it a taste. Here we go. Thank you again for the sample, Greg. This is Ardbeg Fermutation, 13 years old, 49.4%. Non-chill, natural color. Here we go. Wow. It drinks younger. Really, really, really intense. I got to do another sip of this. Man, this is so herbal. I don't know if I've ever had a whiskey that had this much kind of herbal grassiness grass forward that I'm getting on this. Again, man, sharp parsley. It's bold, intense. It's kind of effervescent, malty. Tons of weird spices. Again, bitter herb. A little bit of toffee, mint. Again, the menthol. The herbalness of the herbaceousness of this actually really kind of even overpowers the cask. Even with 13 years in an ex-bourbon cask, I feel like that bourbon cask is kind of in the background. This is showcasing a really kind of herbal, earthy, grassy, just bitter sour. It's not even really sour. It's straight bitter. Sweet bitter is really what you're getting here. Finish is medium long. Mint, just so much mint. And I mean like fresh mint, like muddled mint you put in your mojito or whatever. Just a ton of it. Not spearmint either, like a sharp mint. Wow. This is something. This is I don't know, man. I will give them this. This is unique. This is not your standard just kind of finished, Ardbeg with a finish. This is something else entirely. Whether it's good or not is TBD. I can't, I can't imagine that it warrants the price that it's asking for, and definitely not the secondary market price. But here we go. So put a little bit of water on it. Wow, it actually gets more grassy. Again, it's like somebody just dumped their lawn clippings right in front of you, and they've been molding and damp, green, fresh, like damp, herbal. It has almost like a cough medicine note to it, but it's not fruity. Like you'd be hard pressed to find any fruit notes in this. Maybe just lemon citrus. Little vanilla, little toffee. What a funky whiskey. Here we go. Nice mouthfeel. Okay. So here's the deal here. Like This is one of the stranger whiskeys that I think I've ever had. It seemed like it would be very difficult for them to take this, very highly fermented yeasty whiskey and find a cask that can balance it. So it is really profiling the malt character. The ex-bourbon cask is rounding it out a bit. But all in all, this is a spicy, herbal, with a little bit of sweet and a lot of ash and smoke. I'm thinking back, I think as point of comparison, I mean, this is more interesting than I think a lot of the more recent Ardbegs, including the Scorch, the Drum, which is saying whatever. I like the fact that there's an age statement on it. It's fetching too high a price, but this is a very unique bottle. I don't know, what I'm thinking about here. I don't know, like, what exactly you could do with a whole bottle of this. Part of me is thinking, because it almost has this absinthe quality to it, like a wormwood anise type thing, or like a barrel-aged gin almost. They're like, I wonder what kind of interesting cocktail concoctions you could come up with this. And that's where my mind is going with this whiskey. Interesting stuff. I don't even know where to go on this. I think it's an interesting craft. They've clearly done everything they can to kind of like make this palatable, given how intense the herbal character is of this. I don't know what kind of palate this appeals to. I'm actually a bit dumbfounded. Look, I'll give it character style points, but that's probably like, I don't know, 3.25. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm a little bit a little dumbfounded, y'all. So sorry for the breaks in chatter. This is quite a whiskey. And just to add some brief commentary. So again, I do want to give a shout out to Greg. Thank you for tossing this sample my way. I'm sure yours is kind of perplexed by this as I am. This is quite a journey. Telex to Whiskey Tech recently did a live review of it. I have not seen it. Unfortunately, didn't get to watch the whole thing. It's like no whiskey that I've ever really tasted before. So props for that. I don't think it's a style that could be easily replicated. So this is definitely a one-off. Again, you like absinthe. There is an absinthe quality to this. You like barrel-aged gin. There's that botanical, herbaceous quality to it. I'm pretty stunned. I think they did a good job with the barreling on this, though. I mean, they clearly recognized that it needed something strong. And I think the 13 years isn't because they wanted to do it. It's because they had no choice. I really don't think they had much choice. They had to put this in there for long enough to give this enough time to mellow it. Because otherwise this would just be like, it would be like chewing on a, chard or like fucking bok choy or something. You know what? This ain't my day. This is not my thing. I'm not going to hate on it. I think this is kind of a cool release. It's definitely something different, and kudos to them for presenting it in the quality way that they always do tend to present their stuff. This just is, man. It's almost got a Campari quality to it. Bitter liqueur. Absinthe, Campari. There you go. It's the best I can do for you all. Again, Greg, cheers. This was a fun one. I don't know if this is something y'all should rush out to buy. I appreciate getting to taste it, though. Yeah. Okay, let me catch up on the chat. We got 16 folks in. Pete Week rolls on. Peter White says the Irishman was worth. Oh, yeah. That Irishman 17 is rad. Stephen Connors. Yeah, what's up, man? Right on. Ardbeg stories equal $200 with $100 whiskeys that people are apologists for because it says Ardbeg. Yeah, I mean, look, they've been gimmicky about a lot of things, I think. This one, obviously, it's the same guy who does all these tale of this, tale of that stuff for Glenmorangie. I feel like maybe the Glenmorangies are a little more consistently interesting, but Ardbeg's core malt is just great. I think Ardbeg 10 is great. I think Ugadal is great. Corey Brecken is great. But they are kind of the Macallan of Islay in a lot of ways. I mean, they're presenting their stuff with more integrity. I will give them that in terms of the quality of their presentation. But yeah, there's a lot of hype for them, and so some of this stuff I'm not sure is you're paying a lot of price for some of these whiskeys. I mean, this is light years better than a lot of the non-committee release bottlings of their like the limited release bottlings of their committee releases, like the Scorch, the Drum, the Grooves, all those like 46%ers, like which I have no finish at all. The Black, which is abysmal when it came to the limited release. This is a much more interesting. I mean, the Ardbeg one with the rye cask that was solid. And that one was even a lower price than this. So I don't know. They're pushing the limits, and it's probably going to hopefully pop someday, but interesting nonetheless. Top Shelf, Dustin's in the house. What's up, man? Glad to hear about this year's Ardbeg, the quest to steal more money, fermented something edition. Yeah. All good, Gary. We'll catch you. Bruichladdich all day over Ardbeg and better ABVs. I don't know about that. I like Bruichladdich stuff a lot. You're basically comparing Port Charlotte's, the Core Range Port Charlotte's to Ardbeg's. I would take Ardbeg. I think Ardbeg 10, Ugadal, and Corey Vrecken are any better than any of the Port Charlotte stuff for the most part. When you get into Octomore territory, you want to talk about paying premium prices. Those are pretty high too. So I don't know. I personally, give me an Ardbeg 10 and an Ugadal. Those Port Charlotte's, the 10s are good. The Islay Barley, I think, the Port Charlotte Islay Barley might be a little bit better in my opinion. But that's a premium in and of itself. All right. Damp green cut wood and grass sounds terrible. Yeah. It will be a good time slot for me. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. You and Mike are going to do a live stream. Hello, by the way. Oh, cool. Right on. That's right. You guys are doing a live stream this week? Bruichladdich is the best Islay, and Laphroaig is the best prices from Islay now. That's probably a true thing. Yeah. You said it. Pak choy, something I always look for in a whiskey, says Daniel. Yeah. Right? Chomp on that shit, man. All right. Ardbeg needs to taste their own Dark Cove again and just try to do that every. Yeah. Well, that was honestly the best special release that I think they've done. The Grooves committee release I thought was pretty good, but this is when the committee releases were $120. Kelpie was solid, but then they did the Drum and they jacked up the price, and that was crap. The Black was solid committee release. In fact, I actually quite liked it, but that was my own. Not everybody agrees with me on that. But they raised the price on that again, and then the Scorch, which was just like, I don't know, here nor there, not that interesting. This is at least interesting. Jesus, man, it's black licorice. This is such a strange whiskey. You know what? I think this would be a really fun whiskey to pour in like a really eclectic Isle of Flight. Because I really would be curious how this reacts to a lot of people's palates, just based on the fact that it's so herbaceous. It's so... What is the, like they call it the green, what is it? Absinthe is green, the green fairy, right? The green fairy. In spades. Wow. It sort of is, right? It's not completely. I think because like Macallan chill filters. Macallan doesn't put out much, cask strength stuff. I mean, Ardbeg as a point, I don't think they bottle anything below 46%. I don't think there is an Ardbeg lower than 46%, at least not released in the last 10 years. I have a single cask Macallan from like the 90s that's 40, I think 43. What is that thing? Yeah, 43 from 1991. But that's an independent bottling, so I don't know. I'll at least give them credit where credit is due on that. I mean, at least they're putting out stuff that's got some punch. Yeah, always want Oogie. Committee release I want to try, other than Dark Cove, obviously, is the Kelpie. I don't think I've had the Kelpie committee release. Oh, no, wait, I have. Yeah. That's good. It's pretty solid. I mean, again, at the time, the price was right. It's not right anymore. Ace is in the house. What up, Pittsburgh? I could go for the Green Fairy. Yeah. Alpha Crown, what up? At least I didn't screw up. At least didn't screw up their own core range. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's it's probably varying in quality to some degree, but yeah, they haven't totally destroyed it, which I'll give them credit for. I pick Longrow Red over Ardbeg Black all day. Yeah, probably. I don't disagree with you on that, Gary. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not like an Ardbeg fanboy, really. I don't chase them. If I see them, sometimes I'll get them if the price is okay. I think it's gotten out of hand for sure. I got lucky on the Scorch last year, otherwise I wouldn't have got it. But look, at the end of the day, they put out a consistently good product in their Ardbeg 10. I give them credit for putting out the the age statement on the Wee Beastie. I mean, I don't particularly care for the whiskey, but it's not because of its lack of quality. It's a solid punchy whiskey. We'll see where they go. I do love their characteristic style, no doubt. I just don't think these are necessarily worth chasing down because they're going to be like, God's gift to Isla whiskey. They're not. What a strange dram. It makes me think a bit about, Dr. Bill, right? So Dr. Bill's the guy who does all of the, God, that finish is so weird. He's the same person who's designing these whiskeys, does a lot of the stuff for Glenmorangie. And look, with some exception, I think a lot of these Glenmorangie releases have been solid over the last couple of years. The Tale of Cake was okay, but the Tale of Winter I thought was quite tasty. The Marsala cask, it worked really well. Again, props to the Malaga cask one from last year was just fucking incredible. Probably one of the best Glenmorangies I've had. They push the envelope with the Glenmorangies. With the Ardbegs, it does seem like they're I felt like the black limited release was a really low point. I mean, that was just there is a non-existent finish, $130 bottle. It was I didn't buy one, thankfully. It was just embarrassing. Michael Besley's in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man. You know, I had a sample from Food Quig, but that's it. I've not had a lot of those. I know they're going for that kind of provincial thing and all that. Vancouver's in the house. What's up? Good to see you, Indy. Peter White. Let's talk Laga 12, 2021. As good as it is, the price is egregious at best. Of course, I bought one away. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, right? So, like those, you know, I remember when those Lagavulin 12s, this was just a couple short years ago, and those were going for like $120. And it was like, ooh, I don't know. And now they're like $160, $170. It's fucking crazy. Crazy. Okay, let me take a quick 5. We got 21 folks in. Thank you, y'all. I'll give a real quick recap, and we're going to get into another peated whiskey. I'll be right back. Baseballs is coming this year or this week, y'all. Got to get ready for it. It depends what you call action, but yeah. Thankfully, there's a playback. Okay. Man, that fermutation is weird. Thanks again, Greg, if you're still watching. That was a fun one. Okay. So we're keeping the peak going. So just a quick recap. Friday, Kalila, 12-year-old sherry cask finished, or sherry cask matured, fully sherry cask matured Kalila, 53%, Adelphi selection, part of the little independent bottling April reviews I'm doing. If you're on Patreon, that's already in your inbox. Everybody else, that will drop Friday. And as I said in the beginning of the show, for Patreon folks, first Patreon exclusive review is coming up, and it is again, I'm going to be doing some more kind of exclusive or harder to find stuff because I think it'll make it interesting. We'll see how it goes. First one's coming up, Lagavulin Jazz Festival 2018 Cask Strength Whiskey. This will be showing up in the next week or so at most for folks on Patreon. So again, thank you guys for all of the support. Okay, we have done some cask strength Machrie Moor. We have done the Ardbeg Fermutation. Again, shout out to Greg in North Carolina for that. We need to move into another nice peated whiskey to bring the house down tonight. And I think I got two things in mind, and I think I know which one we're going to go with. It's a little bit buried back here. We may do two, actually. Fuck it. We'll see. I have not touched this one since we tasted it a while back. And this is from an unlikely peated whiskey source on Isla. This is the Bunnahabhain 2014 Stoisha heavily peated whiskey. It is, I think, 6 years old. It is bottled at 59.2%, and this bottle was selected by Jack Rose Dining Saloon, probably one of the best whiskey bars, if not the best whiskey bar in America, and bottled by Signatory. As you can see, I have not messed with this at all. So we're going to get into a heavily peated Buna. And, I mean, come on. Selected by Jack Rose. How can you go wrong? Okay, so it's 6 years old, 287 bottles. It is recharred hogsheads. I'm assuming that's all. Here we go. There we go. Woo-wee. Let's keep the peat rolling, y'all. My guess is this is going to be the one that takes the cake tonight. We shall see. Okay, we got 22 folks in, which is rad, man. Good to see everybody. Never going to happen. Mom User Tuesday tasting is where Dustin and Cohen come to kick the Ardbeg puppy. Something like that, right? Something like that. No argument here, but the price is getting out of hand. I'm not sure if I'm following. I might have missed it. Boo. Righteous. Peter White. If this wasn't the best yet, or Lager 12, I agree. If they can keep that quality up, they can keep the price. I missed your comment there, Daniel. Last pour of the Redbreast 15. Good one, man. It's a nice whiskey. ML Muser. Have some of the Springbank 21 Cask Strength Batch 23. I do not have that batch. I have the Batch 21, I think. Crassus, what's up? A purchasing dilemma. Ardbeg, Corey Vrecken, or Kilhoman Loch Gorm. Corey Vrecken. You have to give me one thing. The two samples I have sent you have been different. Edredor single bourbon cask and the fermentation, two opposites. Yeah, absolutely, Greg. Thank you so much for this, by the way. And there's another one I see here, which we will do next week, likely. I won't spoil it yet. But yeah, no. That was rad, man. I appreciate you. Very cool. Yeah, Crassus. I mean, I don't know. The Lockroom 2020 is probably fine. They're pricey. I just think Corey Vrecken is just at $78 these days, when the prices have went up $15-20, you're getting such a slamming deal on that, man. You got to grab that Corey Vrecken. That's a standard price for the Loch Gorm, but $78.99 for Corey Vrecken, you just don't see that anymore, unfortunately. Loves the Buna Stoisha Casapita. Yeah. Great. I have a bottle of that. Look forward to hearing your thoughts. Signature story, but basically the same. We're all right. Basley, what up? Picked up the Jack Rose Willet 8 bourbon last week. Nice, man. Yeah, man. Back at you, dude. Cheers to you, Cohen. Do they? I don't know. They could take a few pointers from them for sure. I need to open my Lag 12 from this year. Fingers crossed it's as good as everyone is saying. I've not had it yet. Yeah. The new Lagavulin 12. The last one I had was the 19, which I quite liked, but I know some people didn't. It's a little bit of a old school style to it. Anyways, so here we go. Bunnahabhain, Stoisha, heavily peated, cask strength, Jack Rose Dining Saloon, Washington, D.C., premier liquor establishment, if you are into such things, which I know you are because you're here on a Tasty Tuesday. Place is unbelievable. I lived in D.C. for 3 years, and believe me, every chance I got, I could go there. But boy, you will make sure you got a couple $100 to spend, because they got whiskeys that you cannot find anywhere. Anyway, so this is from 2014. It's a 6-year-old. It's heavily peated, Bunnahabhain, signatory, etc., etc. We're going to get into this bad boy. Let me just cleanse my palate, because, can't be rolling in. Well, my palate's pretty fucking charred at this point. Did they? That's pretty funny. Indeed. I'm with you on that, brother. All right, here we go. Anybody had any of these Stoisha releases from Bunnahabhain? Woo. There's that classic funky date raisin note you get from Buna, plus the kind of earthy warehouse dampness. But boy, this is nice and peaty, smoky. Top D. Nice to see you too, man. How are you? More vanilla, less youthful than the recent ones. What's good, man? There's an Ultranova. Jesus. How dare you not have the 12 casting maybe? You were supposed to be chasing all. Yeah. Dude, I mean, you know, there's all this hype now for Springbanks. They're hard to get my hands on. I just sold one of the batch 21s to somebody, actually. I only have one left. That was the one with the 4 finishes, which I quite liked, actually. Rad. Daniel's heading out. Oh, right on, man. Oh, ain't you sweet. Enjoy. All right, here we go with the Stoisha. Smoke, dark, stone fruits, fermented. Here I am still thinking about that freaking fermentation. Dig it. Raisin, plum, slightly earthy. All the good stuff from a Buna. It smells like a classic Buna. Here we go. Wow. I'll tell you something. You see a lot of independent bottlings. Cadenhead's, Signatory, releasing Bunahavens that are like 6 years old, 5 years old, 8 years old. Man, they really hit at a young age and with a full flavor, which you would expect. But also, they're not too sharp. They're nice and rounded. Delicious. A lot of peat, a lot of smoke, a lot of ash. So unlike the Arran we were drinking earlier, this one much smokier, ashier. This bottle at the Jack Rose bottling was around, I don't know, it was like $85. Considering we've been talking about independent bottlings all month. By the way, that Kalila Adelphi will drop Friday. The one coming after that is a Gordon and MacPhail 21-year-old Ballblair. I'm very excited. I just recorded that. That one is could be in a running for one of my whiskeys of the year. This, man, undercurrents of blackberries, smoky, fruity, classic Buna. Think about it like a heavily peated Buna 12, a little bit more edge. That's about what you're getting here on the Stoisha. Really tasty stuff. Let me put a bit of water on this. I'm curious to see what happens. Despite its youth, I mean, this thing's almost 60%, so we're going to drop this bad boy down a bit. Alpha Crown, still waiting on those Springbank 12 NDC I'm wearing now since the biggest shop in NYC can. Dude, I don't know what's going on, man. Some people have said it's because like the Asian market has discovered Springbank, and so the prices are going up. But also, like the cast strengths are there's usually 2 or 3 sitting on your decent, at the decent store in your neighborhood. Fuck, I can go. I've been into Binny's here in Chicago more than once, and they've had 1 or 2 sitting there. Not sure that's going to be the reality for much longer. Jack Rose is fantastic, and the Temptations never on. Yeah, man, it's stupid. Their picks are great too. I've done a Blanton's pick of theirs that was just off the chain. Top shelf dust, and plus I paid fully for my 1 bottle, so I guess it cost me more than mine. Yeah. They're $1.30 in Ohio for the Springbank 12s. Yeah, it's stupid, man. $1.30 is like. This is Stoisha Buna, though, man. Killer stuff. Yep. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if anybody else knows, but what I've heard is like Asian market's been turned on to Springbank, and them being like a mom and pop place. I mean, they're not exactly like, you know, able to churn out a ton more whiskey. I mean, you look at like distillers like Kilhoman, who have just got a massive investment. They're going to be like doubling their capacity, I think, or at least doubling it. Springbank probably will never do that. So you're going to have this classic economic issue where it's the scarcity. Dawson says Springbank isn't sold in Ohio, but in Kentucky. And you're right on the border, right? You're like you're close to there. And now even Springbank 10s don't last. Dude, right? They're freaking $100 for the Springbank 10 and they're still flying off the shelves. I'm not sure what's going on. Ben Demon Hunter's heading out. Take good care, man. Hope you got a pretty penny on that Springbank 12 or 21. Oh, it was a 12. I did. I mean, it was to a friend, so you know, I wasn't trying to like make money off of it too much per se, but I have a couple of them left, but I don't. There's a couple I probably sold too early. It's just weird. I don't know what to do about this Springbank thing. It's fucking annoying. Has anybody got their hands on that Adelphi single cask that they put out? That's like a 20. Was it a 25 year, 27 year? I don't remember. It's like $800, but. Did a certain whiskey tech get that 12? Because I know you wanted one. Oh, yeah. Are you referring to a technician who resides somewhere in the Maryland area? He very well may have. I am not sure. But I think I know who you might be talking about. Yeah. That's a name. New recent bottles to look out for. Well, one that comes to mind that I've been digging quite a bit, and it's relatively recent. So Ben Romick, you know, went through this whole rebranding thing. So they've been putting out this Contrast series, which is like their peat smoke with finishes. The Contrast Peat Smoke Sherry 2021 is fantastic. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Obviously, any of these Springbanks, if they're at a decent price, you should probably grab. What else have I had that's a new release recently that's been actually really good? I mean, if you come across the Emerald Spectrum, buy it without hesitation if it's under $200. But those are going to be really hard to find. I'm with you on that, man. If you're in, yeah, they're $100 even outside DC, man. As crazy as that sounds, seriously, $100 for the Springbank 10. It's jumped 30% in cost in 3 years. Absolutely nuts. He said pass on the Springer Adelphi. Oh, it was the rum cat. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I saw it. You know, they did the Mortlock, the Ben Nevis, the Springbank, and then they did the Kalila. I think were the latest batch they did, like, what, 3 or 4 months ago? I only got the Kalila and the Ben Nevis. Oh, speaking of whiskey, Winston the Whiskey Cat has shown up. Let's see what he thinks about this Buna. Yet. You know how he rolls. Picky bastard. Yeah, if you see that Amaret Spectrum, I mean, just don't overpay for it. I don't think it's worth it. For real, dude. For real. It's crazy. I'm not sure what, you know how these things go. It's going like Glendronach, you know. This is turning into like Glendronach. Hey, what's up? JK135. Great to have you join us. Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, the Stoisha, man. I mean, you just really can't go wrong with this. Bunahaven with heavily peat. Now, before the Stoishas, the only heavily peated Buna that I had ever had was a travel exclusive called the Krokvana, which was actually really good. Not age statement, but it was punchy at good ABV, solid whiskey for sure. Yeah, man, Winston sighting. What makes no sense to me? Spring break in the UK hasn't really gone up that much. It's the US. Yeah, I mean, unlike Lagavulin, right? Like, you see the Lagavulin prices in the UK are kind of consistent with what we've seen here, but not so much the Springer. I don't know. Something's going on. Price also, yeah, dude, forget all that shit. Glendronach is a dead distillery to me, really, at this point. Look, it's not just because like they make good whiskey, but I'm not going to pay, $270 for a Parliament. And the only one that's maintained its price consistency is the 15 and the 12, at least so far. But the new 12s, they're chill filtering now, so like that's a hit. I don't know if the taste is different. I'm sure it is. I mean, logically it would be, or at least the experience of it, right? You just can't find it in the UK. Not worth the money they're going for. Right. I mean, like, it's funny you bring that up, Dustin, because, and you probably noticed this too, where there was like some, when the tariff stuff started, there were some distilleries that it seemed to increase the price of quicker than others. Springbank was one, Lagavulin was one. And it just seems like those prices haven't came down. And so it makes me wonder if it was really the tariffs or if there was some other thing happening with those. Because there were some other ones that maintained, right? Like, but now we're seeing, I mean, some folks have mentioned this who live out in New York, and I'm seeing it even here, like the Ardbeg prices, the Corey Vrecken, which was usually around that 90 to 100 mark, is like $120 now. I don't know, man. Really, I haven't seen it translate here yet, but I'm hoping that that's the case. Anyway, so this Stoisha Buna, like, these are great. If you can get your hands on them, totally worth it. Even at the young age, it just works really well with Bunnahabhain spirit, that kind of rounded, more deep fruity kind of full flavor that they have, whole flavor. It really plays well with the heavily peat at a young age. These are great. I mean, these are probably in that 375 range for sure. Grab them if you can. I'm sure there's a store near you that may be doing a pick of these. If not, grab it. JK 135. Notice all the young, high quality spirits hitting the market lately. Kilcarnate, heavily peated. 6-year-old lit shags. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, one thing that I noticed, so this is a really sad state of affairs. So Glendalough, who used to do this 13-year-old Mizunara Oak Irish whiskey, which is a really fantastic dram, they stopped doing that. Now it's a 7-year-old. And guess what? I just saw it at a local store here in Chicago. Same price as the 13 was. It was like, damn, they're going for $100 for that 7-year-old Mizunara Oak versus the 13, where just a year and a half, 2 years ago was the same thing. Nice. No, I've not. Single barrel Beam is. Have I had anything that was from Beam that was single barrel? Not that I can think of. I haven't done a lot of bourbon lately, to be honest. Yeah, not sure. All right, y'all. I'm going to take this dram off into the sunset. It has been another great Tasty Tuesday to hang out with y'all. Again, hit that subscribe if you haven't, man. I appreciate all of the support. Again, keep an eye out this Friday. Another independent bottling review coming your way. Kalila, 12-year-old sherry cask from Adelphi. Fantastic stuff. Cast strength. Really good stuff. I'm really excited to share that review. Patreons, it's in your inbox. Also, keep an eye out for your first Patreon exclusive review. and chat, which will be coming your way, of Lagavulin Jazz Fest. I'm excited to do that one. Get into that, get into the weeds with that whiskey with y'all. Appreciate everybody, man. And I will catch you all next Tasty Tuesday. Keep it real. It's lunch.